I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur because I have no interest in creating another business besides Max Trade. We'll call it a fourth generation do your own thing person,
Okay, I like it.
a fourth generation independent. And so the pressure in my family was to start your own business. And I was running my agency, and culturally, everyone that I looked at equated success to headcount. How many employees do you have? And revenue. How much revenue do you have? And every time we hired someone new or took on a new client, every time we hit those goals, my personal life got worse. And
Also,
dark circles under my eyes, irritability, paranoia.
Welcome to 99 Humans. My name is Jeff LaCosta, curious coach and Wall Street Journal best-selling author, striving to understand how little things generate big impact.
and I'm Nadia Carta, tech executive and lifestyle coach with a mission to transform lives and corporations by kindling hearts to generate a zeal for life.
Each week, we investigate stories about the human side of leadership to re-energize your spirit and help you become a stronger leader.
Because the reality is that leadership is messy, goofy, challenging, but always human.
Thanks for spending time with us today. Let's dive in.
So what brought you to Zimbabwe, specifically golfing?
Yeah, specifically golfing. Yeah, I for about 20 years I played professional paintball because I have an addictive personality. And then after COVID, I got into golf, and I play a tournament series here in the New England area. And my buddy from Zimbabwe said, "Hey, every year we do a tournament. This year it's in Zimbabwe. You should come to Zimbabwe." And I said, "Sure," as don't tempt me with a good time.
That's
And
amazing. Well,
yeah,
you dropped
so
a few bombs in there. You're like, oh, I have an addictive personality, so I might have some questions about that. And then playing professional. You said you're in New England, which means you're East Coast like me, right?
that's
Where in
right.
New England?
Just outside of Boston, about an hour to the left.
An hour to the left. Okay, so opposite of Cape Cod.
Yeah. Opposite of Cape Cod. Yeah, not Western Mass because that's like the country.
Nice.
But the suburbs, it's not busy city. It's a
It
little
must be
bit
super
quieter.
cold these days in Boston. New York is getting cold like this week, basically. It was very warm, suspiciously warm until today, but then it dropped significantly. What about you?
Yeah, yeah, it's cold. I'm a Florida boy, so it's cold.
So you don't like it? I do love the cold, even if I'm an island girl.
No, you can keep it. No, you can keep it. I do not like the cold. Nothing about it is nice for me. I want to play golf,
You want
so
to play golf,
I
right?
I want it to be now, as long as it's in the 50s, I'm not going to complain, but I played golf the other day. It was 35 degrees. It's a little cold, you
Oh,
know.
wow. So I guess it's not much of a winter sport. Even though I met with a client yesterday who played golf for many, many years, he said that you play during the rain and I mean, weather conditions. I mean, I guess the only one is snow, really. Do you try
Yeah,
to play in
snow.
the snow?
Yeah. And I agree. I'll do it. I'll do it with a smile on my face. But if I had to choose,
Yeah, of course.
I would live in a place that it does not snow.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the show. We always ask a question that is about what are you up to these days? And since we are back from the break, I guess on top of that question, we'd love to ask what are your plans for this year? Everyone has been doing life planning and project planning.
Yeah. Well, it is my ninth year as an independent consultant. And the first 6 years, I really figured out a great business model where I charge a good amount of money. I wouldn't say a lot, but a good amount of money to a small number of clients, like three primary clients. And that was a very comfortable model for me. I made the money I wanted to make. I worked exactly the amount of hours I wanted to work. And then COVID happened, and I thought, okay, let's change things. and I started to work with more individuals and more of them. And it was great because I could make an impact on individual people's lives. Financially, financially there are things left to be desired. So this year it will be a return to pursuing organizations, and going back to my model of working with a few organizations where I charge them, a good amount of money, and I can make my income with 3 or 4 clients at any given time. That's the number that I like to juggle. Mondays are planning days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, client days. Friday is who the heck knows, maybe my kids or maybe golf or something. Um, and I'll still work with individuals, but mentally I'm treating them as my passion projects. I'll work with 4 or 5 individuals, but I won't try to create a group of 30 individuals that I'm working with and doing group workshops and trying to make that my primary source of income.
So what do you consult on? What's your field of operations?
Yeah. So sometimes I use the word productize. That was my first book, helping agencies productize their consulting services. But I'll take services, and then I will help position them and help make the service better. I'm trying to use easy words. Make the service better, and then design a sales process for it. And
like funnels and things like that.
Yeah, but I would say my primary focus is on consulting services and doing consulting services really well. And I've spent the last 9 years interviewing people on how they package up their knowledge in the form of consulting services. And so that's the angle I come from. What I've found is that if you have a great consulting service, but it's not positioned well, you're not going to get very far. And if you have a great consulting service that's positioned well, but you don't have a sales process that matches that service and the target audience, then you're not going to get very far. So I've sort of had to adopt positioning and sales process.
What's an example of consulting services? Because consulting is such a broad word.
Yeah. So for about 6 years, I was exclusively working with marketing agencies. So marketing consulting, they'd help organizations create their marketing strategy. Lots of positioning work, lots of target audience work, content strategy, because that's where I came from. I used to run a marketing agency, and I hated the business model because it was at a time where the agency space was becoming quite crowded, and it became very difficult to price based on value because there was so much competition. But I fell in love with the consulting work, the strategy work. I could charge whatever I wanted for that, and people treated me like a big boy. I was 23 running this company, and I didn't know what I was doing. So it was nice to be recognized at a table of leaders. So I fell in love with the strategy and the consulting and the planning work. And over the years, I sort of fell into other consulting industries, technology consulting, executive coaching. Randomly, I had a client in biotechnology lab management consulting. So I tend to work with people that have very specialized knowledge, and a lot of it. They're very focused, like biotechnology lab management consulting. And I'm helping them take their technical knowledge and turn it into something strategic that a business owner or an executive team can understand.
Got it. So you help them in all the process, like from the ideation, creating the brand, I don't know, launching a website, all of the stuff that are encompassed into how do I go from this knowledge to making a living out of it.
Yeah, and the procedures and the templates that they use, and everything.
That's a very exciting business, I'd say. It's so needed. It feels that the market is very crowded, yes, but also the opportunity is huge. I was reading this book one time that says even if you get 1% of the opportunities out there, you're still going to get incredible results. So not everyone must be a large holding company. If someone has a goal to make a living in a few millions, still is huge. So
Well, in 9 years of getting stories from people, I have never once met somebody that said they focused too much. What they decided to focus on wasn't a large enough audience base or target market. Never once have I heard that. So for especially for individuals, I mean, if you're trying to create a large company and feed 500 mouths, maybe. But for independent consultants, certainly, I think the more you can focus, the better, as sort of a blanket statement.
Yeah. I mean, I do see even companies of 20, 30 people making multiple millions.
On a tiny, very
Yeah.
specific minutia of a focus, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do talk about focus a lot and specialty, and the two things that are easiest is a practice area. I'm going to help people with their consulting service. Okay, that's the practice area. And then there's an industry, technology consulting. And most people will find a specialty there, the practice area and the ideal client. But there's a third element that I've found to be really helpful, and that is situational.
What do you mean by that?
Specializing in a certain situation. So if I'm helping technology consultancies productize their consulting services while going through an acquisition, there's a couple reasons why that's really helpful. One is because the number one enemy for consulting or strategy services is that there's no need to do them right now. There's no urgency. It's planning. It can wait, so you'll often get next quarter or, next planning. But if you make it situational and say, I specialize in helping people during acquisitions.
Yeah. It's a very target.
Yeah. Well, the acquisition is happening now. So you might not get a yes, but you're going to get a yes or a no very quickly. And that is certainly a big key to managing your time as an independent consultant. It's the maybes.
Or even I'm thinking companies that are looking to get investment, or companies that are at different stages of their life process, like situations in time, basically.
Exactly. So, right. Situations that you can say, based on the situation, based on the date and time that you have coming up, you should probably give me an answer now or in the next week or two.
Yeah.
But it could be anything.
This is a podcast that is called 99 Humans. And, our goal is to highlight stories where it does get messy, it does get a little rough. And, hearing you talk, I'm like, what is the messy story that Max has? I mean, as an individual professional, I think you already started saying a few things like, oh yeah, COVID happened, and now I'm realizing I need to go back to my old client model, or other things that you sprinkle here and there. And so what's your story, Max?
Well, how much time do we have? Because I got a lot of I have more failures and painful learnings than I do good ideas and
well,
success.
Let's start with one and we see where we get going with that.
Well, so I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur. I wouldn't call myself an entrepreneur because I have no interest in creating another business besides Max. We'll call it a fourth generation do your own thing person.
Okay, I like it.
A fourth generation independent. And so the pressure in my family was, to start your own business. And I was running my agency, and culturally, everyone that I looked at equated success to headcount. How many employees do you have? And revenue. How much revenue do you have? And every time we hired someone new or took on a new client, every time we hit those goals, my personal life got worse.
Also.
And, dark circles under my eyes, irritability, paranoia. I was dating health-wise, personal life-wise, I would say every element of my personal life was being sacrificed for these call them societal goals. I was running a marketing agency, so it was more of when I say society, I mean in the peer group of marketing agencies, this is what everyone was celebrating. Yeah. And in following that path, my personal life was not sustainable. I could not, follow on that path. So I ended up leaving my agency and taking on my first being an independent, I did work with a business partner. It probably took me 4 years to get over the trauma of working with somebody that's a terrible fit to work with. So my first discovery was not every business model is great. The professional service model where complexity grows faster than revenue, that's a recipe for putting work first and your personal life second. Second lesson was, if you surround yourself with toxic people, you will second guess everything that makes you unique and valuable. And psychologically, it took a few years to get over that and get my confidence back. But ultimately, I think that the decision to put my personal life first, golf, kids, rest, and build a business around my personal life, I think that all of those challenges led to that mindset. And that's the mindset that I use to run my business today. And that's the mindset that I hope to extend to my clientele, because I think there's a lot of ways to make more money. My favorite thing is to help people grow in their personal lives and make the money they need to make to support that personal life that they want.
So what's your life passion then? You said you grew up in this family of entrepreneurs and you got all of this push. You proved that you could do it. You did it, but then it wasn't healthy. And you said, well, I'm just going to go and do something that is actually helpful for me and live the life that I want to live. When you think about your purpose then on this planet, what's your purpose?
Well, there's two questions, because to be honest, if I had all the money I needed, I would just play golf and hang out with my kids. But I just, for some reason, I'm extremely competitive. I got into paintball. I became number 5 in the world. My best friend was number 1 in the world, might still be number 1 in the world. So I've always been
What is paintball,
extremely
by the way?
paintball, like paintball guns, like little paint capsules, and you shoot at people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
never
like,
heard about it.
yeah, I
Fine.
know. Well, look, in the international rankings of coolness, it's right below rock skipping. Like, I'm not saying I'm that
What's
cool.
rock skipping?
There's like, you skip rocks on water
Oh my
and
God.
obscure sports, but I was just a kid that, shot paintballs at people, and that led to 20 years of traveling the world and
Amazing. So,
and
well, let me
shooting
ask
people.
you a provocative question then. Why you didn't go into professional golfing?
Well, I just got into that. I'm only 10 years into golf, and it turns out you need to play golf for a lot longer than that to be decent. But I guess my point is that professionally, I believe my purpose is to help people put their personal life first and build a business around their personal life, and that came from my father. So back to the 4 generations, my great grandfather basically died because he worked so hard. He made some business decisions that literally led to his death. My grandfather put business first, and my dad always tells stories of waiting for my grandfather to come home. And so my dad put his personal life first. He created a passive income model. He was always there for me. We always went to Disney World. And so when I was young, he would say, look, Max, I have a digital scalable residual business model. I've put my personal life first, and I've built a business around that. That's why we can go to Disney World. That's why, we have kids over here all the time while their dads are at work. And so I knew that I wanted to do that.
I like it. I like your dad.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. I talk about the lessons from him a lot because I listened to him and my grandfather quite a bit over the years. But it became something where I felt that was my gift as a kid, to have somebody that encouraged me to do that. And I see so many talented entrepreneurs, consultants, business owners that didn't have that one little mindset and message. And so I got to make money, and I have a skill set in organizing services, but the underlying, like, am I making progress in my life? That's where I look at am I helping people put their personal life first?
Mm. So when those entrepreneurs come to you, what do they typically tell you? Like, how is a typical conversation? How do you get them to say, hey, you know what? It's not about the millions, it's about your lifestyle around it?
Well, a lot of them are successful, and that is their downfall. They've reached the plateau. It's too complex. I'm like I felt in the early days. I wake up with dark circles under my eyes. I don't have the energy. I'm not spending time with my kids. My health is deteriorating. Um, I'm fine now, but I can see in the next 10 years I want to spend more time with my grandkids. And my current model and the way I'm doing things doesn't support that. Um, so those are the people that I really like to work with, because they're successful, they can sell, they have a proven track record of delivering value. All of them have very specialized knowledge. Many of them have specialized in something, and the way to deliver value with less effort is actually to simplify. And that is my superpower, is to see the value in other people and simplify the complex. And if that can make an impact on people, then I can make some money and do some good in the process.
Have you ever had a situation where you had this client and you were recommending them good things and then it went south? Like, what was the toughest client that you had to deal with?
Yeah, 100%. Psychologically, it sucks when you feel strongly about something and someone else doesn't agree. So that happens a lot. I'm in the right or wrong. It's a dangerous business that I'm in, because people could become very emotionally attached, personally attached to the services that they provide. And they have a lifetime of reinforcement of clients telling them, I love this website that you built me. The problem is you can get websites for cheaper somewhere else. And so if I try to tell someone, look, the really valuable thing that you're doing is helping people understand their target audience and what their unique value proposition is. Anybody can do the website. Now I'm messing with their sense of self-worth. And it's like a blood transfusion. Sometimes your body rejects it. And so I've realized in my practice, being right is really irrelevant. It's about the journey I go on with people and what they're looking for and what they're willing to change about their business. And, it's not, I guess I've also learned that it doesn't have to be perfect. People don't have to change everything. They don't have to follow all the rules. But if I can help them make progress in small ways that don't disrupt them psychologically or cause them additional stress, that's the challenge of doing this kind of consulting work with people.
I love what you said, that being right is irrelevant, because at the end of the day, you might send a recommendation, they might not like it, but you did what you did what you needed to do. Like, you provided your service, and so that's done.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between here's what I would do, or here's what technically should be done, and then what is reasonable to expect of the person that you know. You know them a little bit personally now. You know their situation. You know their track record. You know them psychologically. Last year, I did a psychology study of consultants, digging into this very thing, looking at the causes of being a workaholic and an imposter syndrome, and being
a lot of corporate folks, we have that.
Well, yeah, especially folks that spend 40 years in corporate, being indoctrinated in that whole thing. And so it taught me that things that are absolutely beneficial for a certain type of person are going to be detrimental psychologically and business wise for another type of person. And so yeah, it's a challenge. I'm not a pro at it. But I'm more and more recognizing that it's a lot more to do with the individual you're working with than giving recommendations that you know to be valuable.
What's your wish for this year?
Well, my method of measuring progress is where I start. So, in the beginning, it was money, because I was trying to prove to myself my competitive nature. The same reason I wanted to be the best in the world at paintball was like, I want to make the money to prove to myself that I can, do it. After that, it became, how much personal time do I have? And it culminated last year, where my business partner and I decided that we were going to take every 4th month off. So we would work for 3 months, and then we'd take a month off, work for 3 months, take a month off.
I like it.
And so, well, the measurement of progress was, how much complete free time do we have? Time when we're not looking at our phone, we're not thinking about work at all. We're totally dedicated to kids, golf, a trip to Europe, whatever it is. And that was the method of progress. I think my measurement of progress this year will be my mental health. How present, and because I would say that now, having 2 kids, I have 2 kids, 5 and 2. They're the age where they spontaneously combust. Like, the 2-year-old pisses the 5-year-old off, and then the 5-year-old tries to piss the 2-year-old off, but only gets anyway. So they spontaneously combust, and it's a challenge to my patience and energy and mental health like nothing else I've ever experienced. You could shoot at me with a fully automatic paintball gun, I don't care, but listening to kids scream at each other all day, and anyway, so I think my method of progress, my measurement of progress will be my own mental health. And so planning is going to be very important. My quarterly plans, my weekly plans, celebrating the progress, and which is why I've chosen a business model that I'm much more confident in and have a consistent track record in, so that I'm not trying to do anything outrageous or new business model wise. I'm going back to the boring comfort, but trying to live in a way.
I launched with a client yesterday, and they told me the same thing. They said, my 2024 goal is to be present.
Present, yeah, that's another way of saying it.
And
present.
This is like a super successful man, has it all, in his 50s, and he goes, my goal this year is to find a way to be present.
Yeah. And changing your business model, at least in the past year for me, has been a formula for not being present. I went from high ticket, low volume. My goal is 1 new deal a month, and I was really comfortable with that model. Then I saw some industry signs, and I changed some things, as entrepreneurs do. We're risk takers. But now then the model was more volume based. I wanted to work with 30 individual consultants, implemented some group programs, charged a little bit less. But with any change comes the deep commitment to figuring it out. Yeah. When you're in neutral, when you're asleep, when you wake up, your mind is still going. Your mind is still trying to figure out this new thing. And so I'm looking forward to getting back to the formulas that I know have worked, reduce a little bit of the stress on the business model and trying to do something new, and being more present during this, time when my kids are getting molded into what they will become in the future. I got plenty of time to do the risky stuff later and change things in my business model.
So, Jeff is not here today, but Jeff and I always ask a question to our guest, which is, what is your word of advice? I think in this 30 minutes of conversation, we spanned across so many, from mental health to time to passive income. That was very interesting, and sports and parenthood. But if you would have to summarize in one line, everyone listening, what would you say is your word of advice for them?
Well, my default answer is put your personal life first. Now we've already talked about that, so I have another one, but my default answer is put your personal life first. And what I mean by that is like something that you can do right now, because I bet everyone listening to this has in their 2024 goals, okay, if this happens, I will book that trip to Europe. If this happens, I will spend a day with my kids. No, Stop that. Personal life first means you book it now. You book it first, and then you dedicate your time and energy to whatever, making the money or carving out the time to do it. So that's my default answer. But I was having a conversation recently sort of related to that, which is enjoy the ride. My grandfather always told me to enjoy the ride. And I think now when people are doing a lot of planning for 2024, they get obsessed and over-focused on achievement.
Oh,
I will be happy when I make that $400,000 come December 31st, 2024. And they forget that 99% of your time is going to be spent in pursuit of that achievement. So figure out ways to enjoy that pursuit. That's where, you got to be happy with the pursuit.
I'm gonna follow your advice and maybe book my trip to Sedona right now.
Yeah. Like that will make my day. Just do it. You will figure it out. Look at you. You're here. You've survived this long. You're going to be fine. Book the trip.
Yeah, I believe it. I'm a big manifestator, so I believe that first you make the wish and then the universe will help you get there. Max, it's been such a pleasure meeting you. Where can people find you should they want to make a connection and find out more about your services?
LinkedIn is my spot. So LinkedIn, Max Traylor, just like it's spelled in the video there. maxtraylor.com. A lot less information, a lot less interesting. But hey, if you want to see my website, go for it. But yeah, see you on LinkedIn.
Amazing. Well, listen, good luck with your golfing and say hi to your parents and grandparents. They've been interesting to have them into this conversation. Now, maybe we want to have them next.
Grandparents aren't around, but all the one-liners live on through me. But my dad will appreciate that. And just one thing for any of your listeners, I don't know if people leave comments or reach out to you, but if anybody is an independent, consultant or thinking about that, I've got a bunch of copies left over of my latest book, Consultant's Survival Guide. I'd be happy to send them a copy. So like literally, Nadia, just send me an email with whoever you think would benefit from it, and I'm happy to send a copy to your listeners.
Well, I'm sure many, including Jeff and I, since we have our own side gigs. So it's nice that you're doing this type of work. It really resonated. So
cheers.
Have a good weekend. Bye.
You too.